we can go for the second presentation entitled Brazilian Utilities, Invoice Data Understanding, Extraction, Data Standardization and Consumption Overview from Partner Universities by Hildo Guilharde Jr.
So, good evening, everyone. We are almost finishing, so this is the one to last. Here I am here to present some insights that you are confront now in our projects, and the goals that you are attempt for, and what you are doing to transpass some barriers of the data that you are using in our research. So the context of this project is also the sustainable campus of Unicamp, but mainly the CPTEn, that is São Paulo Center of Energy Transition Studies, that we have the goal to create a framework of study and the projects that could be applied to initially to the São Paulo region, and of course after to Brazil, of course. But we have some insights that the buildings, the public buildings, use almost half of the budget just to pay electricity, and also deal with water and other monthly consumptions budgets. Is like not a problem, but an issue that the administrative have to deal. So we attack this problem to digitalizing this data to create a framework that you could not just to cross the data, but create a framework that the administrative people could use to data-driven politics. Here is something of the problem that we are confronted. The Brazil have a lot of companies that provide the services like water, piped gas, and the electricity. Here we have almost in Brazil 27 piped gas companies, if I remember correctly, and almost 56 water companies, maybe more. Just here in São Paulo region, if I remember correctly, almost 10. Each of these companies have a different kind of invoice or a way to pass the consumers the data, the consumption, the amount to pay. Also, there is a format that is a document sent by email or by common mail, by paper printed. But we are attack the problem to how to automatically digitalize this information to create our database of study. And so in this document, you have to automatically identify the company, the kind of a company, the user identification, the actual and sometimes the past consumption, the monetary amount to pay in Brazil currency. Also, we have some automated barcode here, and some partial codes that are described here in a table. This data is interesting because of the workflow that we create. Of course, these data are automatically extracted from the document, but the software have to get a way to confront this data. And for example, all the partial data and confront with the total data or the code to pay in the ATM machine. It's a way to be almost sure that the software are extracting correctly. So the software could raise some problem and we could deal with the extraction problem. Also, the invoice documents is kind of worse than the two previous one. Because in Brazil, we have not just a lot of companies, but also some different kind of contracts. We have, if I remember correctly, 4 kind of contracts. That's the conventional one that most of the people here in Brazil pay. We have other variations, like the seasonal one, that's the blue and green, is 2 kind of variations, but the huge consumers have to attend of this kind of contract. and also a white type of contract that is a variant of the conventional one. This is just a model that we call captive, or like a post-paid consumption. You just consume, and after you pay in the end of the month. But there is also a prepaid model that we call free market contract. So I was talking here of the structure, but also there is a kind of free market prepaid contract that here Unicamp is the first university to attempt this kind of contract, when you can prepay energy from the producer, not like the distribution. You purchase the kilowatts from the hydroelectric power plants directly from the production, and you just pay from, like here, the CPFL, that's the company of the distribution, just the amount of the service of the distribution. So you can save some money by this kind of contract, but they have it to be more careful, because like you prepay the energy, you have to be looking for your amount that you plan to consumption in the next months. So you have to be looking for. All companies have a variation of documents, and also between a same company, because of the kind of contracts, there is a variation of this type of documents. So the plan is develop some kind of software that is in a beta version that extracts all this information from these documents in automated way, and also cross-validation inside this document, like the partial tables, other information that they are like, and you can cross to really validate the procedure of extraction. After this, fill some kind of a database model like this, that you have like a relational data part that have the address, company, consumers, kind of contracts, and also some time series data that is the consumption itself. This allows us to create a framework that also can cross with other statistics like weather conditions, use of the space, like for a university, number of students in a building, and etc. The software was developed in a Python language and almost using regular expression variation language to extract these patterns of strings in the documents. The results are also present in a Power BI that you will see the link in the next slides. But here you can see the first results that we have. Here is the result of piped gas in Unicamp, because the other partners that we put the study here in this paper don't have piped gas. But here we see that Unicamp, it's a fact, in the last years they had a crescent investment in piped gas, like a retrofit in the kitchens of the university restaurants, and also in the procedures that use warmed water and etc. in the hospitals. So they convert to piped gas to save some money. So we see not just an increase of consumption, an increase of total paid, and also a different delta variation in some space that you can see that the price is also variation. There is also a variation of price between the years. Here there is another data of water. Here we start to see some data missing, because this kind of documents sometimes have some issues, like the company don't send us in a correct way, or they scan like a rotator or a little rotated, and this is a little issue that we are dealing. But we can see some seasonal behavior here. This first result here is from Unicamp, that we have almost the more quantity of data missing. But here is the Federal of Goiás, that is a partner in mine, Professor Marcelo, that is here. And here is my university, that is Unesp São João da Boa Vista campus. We can see a seasonal behavior that is clear, that here is the middle year vacation. And also here in Federal of Goiás, you can see some two less consumption points. One, of course, is the middle vacation, but this that we are expecting here in the 7th month, July, was not the middle vacation, but it was here because of some delay of the calendar, because of where the university was trying to attempt the delay caused by the quarantine. So the middle vacation was here for this university. Here was another issue that we are investing in. And here is some results by electricity consumption. Here we also see some variations here. Also some data missing from University of Campinas here in Unicamp. But Unesp São João da Boa Vista, that is a really small campus, we see a clear seasonal configuration of consumption that is clear the peak of the summer, like air conditioning use. Here is the decrease of end of the first semester of a class, and also the return of administrative and students. Here, also the vacation of normally the first month that we are expecting January, but the Federal University was 2 months delayed in the official calendar. Here's some conclusions and also the link that if you want, that just remove the mouse pointer here, if you want to check. But we are expanding this project, is also a goal that we are trying. Filling this with more universities and also public partners, not just universities, but public builds like municipally scheduled buildings. And we have some other results that not just the university here in this database. All procedure we are really trying to do in automatic way, not depend of the human interference, to trying to prune the filling problems with this kind of data that you had in the past, like missing comma, missing zeros, and etc. Also to automatic cross, if you see this modeling of the database, it's an automatic relation between address, companies, contracts, and etc. by the IDs of the tables to attempt the next step of the project, that is cross this with weather and provision tools that we are trying to put in this website also. Then, this is my curriculum, and also Marcel, that is my partner in this research. Thank you.
Thank you, Hildo. Now we have space for questions, time for questions.
I will leave here if someone wants to check.
Thank you. I was wondering, do you think there could be some room for standardization? Or, I mean, across these utility sectors, such that they would be, by regulation, had to provide bills and data to you in a certain way?
Yes, this was a discussion that was important one, because it was more easy if they just could provide like a JSON format or, I don't know, some other metadata. But I could say there is like 100 companies in Brazil. If it don't was a federal law to this, there will not be a regulation for data.
More questions?
Yes, I have a question. Actually, it's not only relevant to this, this presentation. I'm just curious about your presentation and also others, and also the keynote speaker talking about Power BI. Use Power BI to doing data visualization, and as we know, actually Power BI, if it's you use for commercial purpose, actually it's quite expensive, especially you get the data fit into the Power BI and you share it. So in that way, how what's the situation in Brazil? And I mean, is it free to use for the universities, and how much is cost for the companies?
Okay. In this project, the CPTEn, no, we were talk about this because the main concern was like the research needed the ways to replicate the data, replicate the research. So we adopt like free languages, free workflows. In the database, we are trying to use Postgre because of it's free also, and they provide the way to use a serial time series and also relational in the same motor. But the research is in kind of back-end state. Like we are develop the tools to fill the database. We are not, I and Marcelo, now we are not concerned about how to present. There is also a discussion, that we don't want to stay in Power BI so long because of the license. And also because we want to make this free. Also to the user and researchers, and also to administrative people, like the government. Not to be concerned about Microsoft license.